The Trump organization removed its indicted CFO, Alan Weisselberg, as an officer at some of the company's subsidiaries. Weisselberg was indicted for an alleged 15-year off-the-books tax scheme and pleaded not guilty. It's a sign that Trump is trying to distance himself from Weisselberg, the only non-family member to help run the company during Trump's 4 years in office. The Wall Street Journal breaking this story, adding, quote, his removal comes amid discussions of potential changes in the chief financial officer's duties, responsibilities, and possibly title at Trump's company. Mr. Weisselberg is expected to remain at the company, and so far we believe he has remained silent. But prosecutors are reportedly working hard to flip Weisselberg, who faces up to 15 years in jail. Joining me now is former federal prosecutor and CNN legal analyst Elie Honig. He's the author of Hatchet Man, How Bill Barr Broke the Prosecutor's Code and Corrupted the Justice Department. Elie, I'll start with this. For a lot of the lay people out there, this is the Trump organization is terrible, blah, blah, blah. We hear something new and terrible about it every day. But Weisselberg basically showing up at work today and realizing that his key card doesn't work into certain offices, that seems like a change. So what's the significance now of him being relieved of duty from certain parts of the Trump organization now that he's under investigation?
Jason, it's something to watch. It's fairly common in this kind of situation to see a corporation try to limit or distance itself, as you said, itself from somebody who's been indicted. What I'm looking for here, though, are we going to see more dramatic signs of a split? For example, will there be a firing or a quitting? That would be a much bigger deal. Will Weisselberg change lawyers? Sometimes that shows you that someone's had a change of heart. So you're absolutely right. This is the person prosecutors are trying to flip. There's no indication they've succeeded before, but this is something to watch.
So sometimes jail time motivates people, sometimes money, sometimes it's concerns about another relative. In your experience, what does it take to flip somebody like Weisselberg? Trump doesn't pick his cronies and his assistants very easily. These are people who have demonstrated a tremendous amount of loyalty to him. What would prosecutors have to bring to bear to even get someone like Weisselberg to think about trading in information for his own protection against Trump or members of Trump's family?
You said the exact right word, Jason, and that is loyalty. This is an intensely personal, individualized decision that all comes down to loyalty. Is he going to remain loyal to the Trumps who he's been with for decades, or is he going to be frightened enough, to put it bluntly, by the indictment to try to save his own hide? And if you look at that indictment, the evidence against Weisselberg looks fairly strong, in my estimation. The penalties he's looking at, however, are not super high. They're not the type that typically gets people to flip. On the other hand, the man's about to turn 74 years old, and the threat of any jail time has got to be imposing.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he can just sort of laugh off the idea of doing a bid 6, 12, 8 months. It doesn't even matter if it's a low security prison or an ankle bracelet. I want to go back to your book because I think this is really fascinating. So you talk about how William Barr basically broke the prosecutor's office and limited our government's ability to actually do the kind of investigations. In your mind, is William Barr directly or indirectly related to sort of what we're seeing now? Was his desire to remain completely loyal to Donald Trump and act as his personal lawyer prevent local and even federal prosecutors from looking into the Trump organization over the last couple of years, and therefore now it's following to people after Trump left office?
I do, Jason. I think that Bill Barr, and I make the argument in the book, that during the Trump administration, Bill Barr was one of the president's most powerful, most loyal defenders, and that he lied to the public and to Congress many times over to protect Donald Trump, starting with the Mueller report and moving on from there. But also, I think you make a great point, and I argue in the book that the effect of this continues with us today, this revisionist history, this covering up for Trump at all costs. And the perfect example, really, is January 6th, because Bill Barr did turn after the election and say there's no evidence of election fraud, and he's trying to remind us of that during his current image rehab tour. However, as I point out in the book, Bill Barr spent about 6 months leading up to the election as one of the leading proponents of this election fraud lie, fanning those flames. So, look, he is partially responsible for what went down on January 6th, and I'm not buying this revisionist history from Bill Barr or other Trump enablers.
I mean, and you point out also, it's interesting, William Barr was a respected lawyer and a member of the sort of legal community for a very, very long time. He wasn't a lifelong Trump loyalist. And look, usually these politicians ain't loyal, right? Why would someone who had the reputation that William Barr had prior to this moment basically throw it all the way? Is he hoping that history will judge him as being a hero, or did he really think that Donald Trump was going to be the forever dictator and he would be covered for the mistakes and violations that he committed?
Yeah, a couple things. So first of all, Bill Barr, like many decent people before him, got pulled into the Trump world, became intoxicated with the power, and compromised his morals and his values and his judgment as a result. Also, and I argue in the book, Bill Barr has this very extreme version of the law where the president should be entirely untouchable. And I show in the book how he took it to a ridiculous length and consistently lost in the courts. Also, we found some old speeches that Bill Barr had given that show that he is what I call a real culture warrior. He has espoused this idea that, and I quote, God's law is the only proper way to organize a society. And so he had some extreme views. The other thing, Jason, that really strikes me is Bill Barr gets away with a lot of this because unlike, say, a Jim Jordan or a Marjorie Taylor Greene, he's not loud and abrasive and in your face. He has a quiet manner about him, but the stuff he did was just as damaging, if not more so, because he did it as the Attorney General.
He was literally doing the quiet part loud in the administration. Elie Honig, thank you so much for your time coming on The Beat tonight. Again, the book is Hatchet Man. Go pick it up.